On a hidden camera, and now a UT Tyler employee is on leave after allegedly making a statement about diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, according to the Dallas Morning News. The paper claims a group called Accuracy in Media compiled recordings of UT Tyler employees talking about not complying with state DEI or critical race theory bans that took effect in January. The video alleges the director of student belonging was asked about the programs no longer being legal, to which she allegedly replied, "You have to be creative." Associate Vice President for Strategic Communications Beverly Golden sent us a statement today. It reads in part, "The university fully follows all state and federal laws, regardless of what was portrayed in the video." Now, the chairman of the UT System Board of Regents, Kevin Eltife of Tyler, released this statement saying, in part, "The consequences for violations are clear, and under no circumstances will we allow UT institutions to jeopardize state funding that collectively educates more than 250,000 students at our institutions." Now, for more on this story, you can go right now to kltv.com, click on that article right there. You'll find those statements in full.